we want to get done this afternoon is to go over some of the adjustments and changes that have been made to the assessment training of trainers that we all attended not too long ago, and then talk a little bit. We're going to go through the PowerPoint fairly quickly and really just stop on the slides where something has changed. And then we'll have a little conversation at the end about some more upcoming training opportunities and then what you need to do in order to be a trainer for Train PD. So I am actually going to make Krista Mosher with Train PD the presenter. Krista was our first out of the gate with this training and did a pilot of this in El Paso. So she's going to kind of walk us through some of the changes, and then I'll talk to us about how you'll get access to these materials. So, Krista, I have the recording started. If you want to unmute yourself, I'll let you take it away.
So, yeah, I got to do this in El Paso, and it went very well. So I did not change any of the content of the slides except for what Mahalia and Lori had informed me to change. So one of the first things that I wanted to show, and this is what I was doing, is the pacing guide that I've created. So I'm going to share this first. All right, hopefully everybody can see that. Just to kind of keep you guys on track for this, it took me about 5 hours in El Paso, and but we've allotted 6 hours because, as we know, there could be a lot of discussion and such happening. So with the pacing guide, I just kind of broke down the basic and the big parts of each of the slideshow and the different topics. And, you know, so slides 1 through 42 went right up to lunch. And then after the 1 hour lunch, then we finished topic 4 and 5. And then all the activities are there. Also on this guide is some trainer notes, things that you're going to need for sure. And then, of course, anything extra that you'd like to have as a trainer. And then I'd like to talk a minute about the parking lot for questions. When I did this in El Paso, I actually used Kahoot as the parking lot. So I set up Kahoot and had people text their questions to the Kahoot site. And then I had it electronically that I could use to download and send to Mahalia. That's just a suggestion. If you're not used to Kahoot or technology, that's okay. But just as a little side thing, that's something that you could use. Also about the parking lot is if you get questions while you are doing the training that you cannot answer and you need TWC guidance, please write those questions down and send them or email them to me. And then I will email them to Mahalia. That way we don't have a whole bunch of people emailing Mahalia that she doesn't really know. And so once I get answers from Mahalia, I will get them back to you, and I will also add them to the PowerPoint where it's appropriate. That's what we did in El Paso. Armando and I got a lot of questions. We sent them to Mahalia, we got the answers, and I put them in the PowerPoint, and you'll be able to see where I've put some of those things in. And that way, as you continue to do the training and continue to get questions, there may be some answers already in the PowerPoint. Okay. Also, when we are done, all the materials will be put in the portal to be accessed as needed, and Beth will let you know when those are available. And I'm talking the PowerPoint and all the activities and such. Okay, so is there any questions so far? So one of the there's two first things that I did with the PowerPoint is one, I added the assessment guide page numbers throughout the slides. So when you got to, so when she was talking about a certain point, then I put the page number so that you can refer to it in the training, and also the participants can refer to it. And then the other thing I did was change the word domain to the content areas. So everywhere that they had domain, I changed it. Okay. So again, I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to stop on certain slides that were changed or added to. So the rest of it is basically the same as what we saw in Austin with Mahalia leading it. I did take out the first few slides that were dealt mainly with the TOT. So we have the overview. Let's see, Peak Performance 1. So when you're training, you'll need to put your name and the date on there. There's your overview. No changes there. Okay, so this is the number activity, and so I just wrote out the instructions for that, and you'll have this as one of your handouts. And this is the ones where you circled everything consecutively and such like that, and then had some of the questions there. That's not changed. Let me jump through. Okay. Also, you're not really being able to see it on here, but all of these, or the majority of the slides have notes on them now for trainer notes. And if there's answers to some of the questions, those are also in the trainer notes. So on 11, what I did, and again, you can't see it in the note, but I added this. I didn't add this. I created an activity to go with this where I had the participants read page 15 and 16 in the guide to themselves, and then added some questions. So again, that's in our notes, but so there is an extra activity on that one. Slide 12.
This is Beth. While Krista is sharing her desktop and pulling it up so we can see the notes, one other comment I want to make as we move forward is that you'll notice the title has changed slightly.
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of working on some kind of a series of trainings looking at program performance and assisting to enhance program performance. And so we kind of settled on peak performance as kind of our overarching for these trainings. So you'll notice this is now Peak Performance 1 assessment. So this is the first in what we hope to be a longer series of trainings. Okay, Krista, we can see your desk.
Great. So can everybody see this now? All right, so here's that slide 11. So this is what I was talking about, reading the pages 15 and 16, and then some discussion questions on that. Then on slide 12, this is what I've added so that there's some notes there, but then this was a question that we had in El Paso, and I've put the question in bold, and Mahalia's answer is in italics. So spend a little bit of time reading those questions and answers, and that's all there. Then we're going to jump down to slide 18. Same thing, the question, and then the answer from Mahalia. On slide 22, this is a corrected visual. So if you look at your original PowerPoint, this picture will look different than what you see in your original PowerPoint. They've TWC corrected that. On 23, this is her impact and notes, and I put about 10 minutes here for a discussion. This was the topic about the option to do just one test and then count the rest as direct hours and such. So this was a good place to stop and discuss, would your program want to do this? What are the benefits? What are barriers and such like that? So just a good time for some discussion. All right, and then we're going to jump to slide 26. We added some language to this one for the test will not exceed a POP, but putting in direct hours for test taking time is allowable. Again, this is directly from Mahalia, and of course the direct hours for test taking is when you've already established your eligibility. And then there's also another question and answer there. We added a slide to just give the definition of a POP. There may be some people that are not as familiar with this as others. So just a definition from the AEL guide on what a POP is. Slide 28, again, another good time for some discussion for the participants, and those are there in the slide. All right, the next one is the best and my most favorite slide in the world. This one gets a little bit complicated, and I have put in the straight answer, which is the first line of the notes. And then I asked for some explanation, and Mahalia sent this as another scenario. I did not even get into this in El Paso, and nobody questioned anything. But again, this slide, just try not to get too far out in the weeds with this one. All right, where am I? Okay. This scenario, you can see where I put the answers, and then on the next slide is the actual visual that goes with that scenario. All right, jumping down to slide 43. Again, added some language from Mahalia and Lori's request that all exiters must be tested upon return, which we understood, and then they wanted to add if last content area test is older than 150 days. Okay. And that's also on number 44 as well. Slide 46 is also a corrected visual. So again, if you look at your previous PowerPoint, you will see that it's a little bit different. And then we're down into the activities as far as what has been changed or added to. So I'll stop right here. Has there been any questions or anything that I need to stop and rewind with?
Nothing's come up in the chat yet, but let's give them just a minute to see if anybody has questions at this point. I don't see anything. Krista, I can just interject if something comes up, okay?
Okay, perfect. All right. So we added some activities, and these activities came from the the Great Mind Bank of trained PDs, PD specialists. So the first activity is a scenario activity where you have a really good background of a student, and then we've added questions to it. I've put some instructions in the notes, and I've also put the answers in the notes. However, you will also have a handout that's a trainer copy that has those answers on it, and also the handout with just the scenario activity. So this is on paper, but it's also a slide. All right, the next activity, this is something that Liz is working hard on. So this is the one we used in El Paso. This will be changed when Liz gets the activity finished for us. So I'm just leaving it in here as a placeholder right now, but there will be very clear instructions, another report given, and also answers for this activity. The next one is an administration activity.
I'm sorry, Krista.
Yes.
This is Beth. Well, two questions. We have one question in the chat if we want to pause and see if it's something we can answer or something we have to pass on. Jeannie says, we've had a question with 150 days or carry over to new APT appointment, I guess. Student test.
Program year, I'm sorry.
Program year, sorry.
Yeah.
Student test.
So what happened is that they've basically not, if we run orientations in June, program year starts, re-ups in July, we're unable to enter those test scores that have a date of June into the system for July. So if they ended right then there. So I guess our question is must they retest, or is there something, literally it's like within a week, must they retest at that point, or do those test scores not count, or how do we work with that?
Teams should have taken and rolled those over. So it may be something in Teams that hasn't happened yet, but no, you should not have to take, especially if they were in June, those scores should just roll over. And the way I understood it is Teams would just automatically do that. Does anybody have insight on that?
This is Beth. One thing I will say is a number of and this might be helpful to have in writing from Mahalia, Krista, there are certain changes that have to do with the new assessment guide policies that will not take effect in Teams until November 1st, when they have the November 1st Teams push out. And I'm pretty sure that anything around 150 days, the 150-day rule, will get pushed into Teams at that point. But we can verify that, Jeannie.
This is Denise.
Okay, perfect. And then so that will so anybody before that, we would just kind of need to, I don't know, what would we do for November? So like we've got students that may have tested in June, ready to end of June, like literally because our classes are starting and we're processing students through. I just hate to have them have to retake the test because now classes start, for August, and they're unable to enter that test score in the system.
Right. So let us follow up with that. I think they were going to write out some guidance for us on this, but I can follow up for all of us because that's certainly a question we're going to have when we get out in the field.
Okay, thank you.
Denise, did you have a question?
I was just going to say that, and I can see that Liz already wrote it as well in the chat, I can't go back and enter tests for last program year. If the tests are already there, Teams should automatically pull it if it's within a set amount of time, but I can't go back and enter tests for June if they weren't already entered once we enter July. I don't know if that's the question, but that was what I heard, was that there was difficulty entering June exams. You can't enter June exams now. June is
I see. If you took the test in June but didn't enter them, you can't use them with a June date.
Yeah,
It's
that's
too late to enter them now if you didn't do it last program year, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's two different questions. One is if they were entered before the end of the program year, or two, did they carry over from the previous program year?
Exactly.
Yeah, good point.
So, Krista, were you going to have Liz talk to us a little bit about what we were doing with that POP activity, or am I jumping ahead?
No, yes, I am going to have her do that. I'm just going to finish the PowerPoint and then give it to Liz.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. And then there's an administration activity. Again, this is on a handout for you to follow. It's very clear and quite effective. This slide goes along with the administration activity. This could be used as some answers or some kickoff points if people don't really know where to start on that administration activity. And then the last activity is an AEL word game. Beth, from what I understand, borrowed this in quotation marks from Delia. And so I made it much more extensive as far as putting some instructions to it. Everybody that trains will get an envelope that has all the words on it. They're laminated. So this is just the instruction slide for that, but the instructions will be on a handout. Scorecards, all of that will be on the handout. So yeah, that's going to be a fun one. And then just the summary is the same. And then, of course, our lovely Scantron. And this last slide, you want to take my name off and put your name on. And this is also, this very last slide is just here for your information. You may want to just hide it. But this was also another question and answer that didn't really go in the PowerPoint, but it's just something for you to know and have just in case.
And a big shout out to Delia for sharing the word game that she used with her team.
Yes. All right, you've got it.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to show you is there is an Excel worksheet where I downloaded a sample POP report. When I was showing it to Krista earlier, I told her, okay, be forewarned that it's just really colorful. There's lots of things going on. So this one, I just want to make sure you can share, you're looking at my screen. Can you see the Excel spreadsheet? Okay.
Yes.
So it's going to get a little dizzy here. I ran the POP report, and this was not the summary page. This is a sample POP report, and I added, this is the report extract, and the 12 hours were not selected, so it encompassed everyone. The actual worksheet that the participants in your training are going to receive is going to be this sample report minus the highlighted colors. It's just going to be black and white. I just haven't finalized it yet. But I wanted to show you that the names, which are in column A, have been removed. I also removed any PII, date of birth, Social Security, any type of ID numbers. And for Social Security, I simply indicated if they were there or not. And for document type, I listed what the program had collected at the time of intake. Keep in mind that this report is reflecting 2018-19 data, so it is not from July forward. This is a tool to be used to learn how to analyze data. And so since the rules in 2018-19 are different from now, that's just something to keep in mind when you are working with your participants. that this report does not reflect the new changes, but in hindsight, what could we have done differently knowing what the rules are now? Does that make sense? And please let me know if there's any questions. So this one here is the answer key. And I'm just going to briefly go over one example here where, as a trainer, I would suggest, and it's up to you, that you go over the header of the POP report and what each one signifies. There will be a sheet that describes each one of the column headers. I did remove some of them that were blank, and so those columns have been removed. But simply looking at participant A, I highlighted the last service date as July, and I also highlighted that I ran this report yesterday, that now it's going to be 16 days before they have their 90 days are up. And I highlighted this so that the person in your training can indicate if this is a red flag, if they identify it, and what does that mean for the program. So what I did, again, this is the answer sheet. And what some of the red flags are, what are the implications, and then identify any trends or implications of the trends. I do see, Denise, your comment that we might not necessarily have to go over the POP report at this time. I would agree. I think that we're going to have different types of levels of learners in our trainings, and so some people would be a little more advanced than others.
Liz,
Yeah.
I wasn't saying we don't need to. I'm actually saying we do need to.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah, I think it's in there now, but it's not something that existed before, and so unfortunately, at least I have found to be true, that if we don't go back and tell them, here's the report, here's how you use it, here's why it's important, or here's how it can be helpful, they're not going to go in there and do it by themselves. That's just my personal opinion, but I agree with you. We have to break it down for them because somebody has to help them.
I would agree, and I think it is when you first see it. I remember the first time I saw this report, I thought, okay, what am I looking at? And so you're absolutely right, Denise, that it is something that we need to break down, and depending on who's in the room, we might have to start off with something simple. Simple being maybe, do they have a Social Security number, and referencing maybe the AEL letter that's tied to that. What happens if they don't have a Social Security number? What does that mean for the program? If they don't have a Texas ID, what does that mean for our program? And breaking it down in that thing. And then as the participants are getting used to this report, later in that session, not later at another time, then introducing other components like the 90-day rule. I am going to share the blank worksheet as well as the answer sheet for you to review. I by no means think that my answers are absolute. I do think that there are some answers that have multiple possibilities. So I do appreciate any feedback that you would share on that. And so once I tweak this, I'll share it out with you. At this time, does anyone have any questions?
Liz, this is Beth. I just wanted to make a comment
Yes?
for the group. We have been working with Anson Green to do some additional recorded webinars, and the first one he did for us was on POPs and kind of breaking down this report and what it looks like. It's about a 15-20 minute long video that it's currently in post-production, but we'll have it available through the portal. That might be a very nice combination with this assessment training as something that we'd encourage our participants to review before they actually come to the training, to kind of give them. I think one of the issues I had with this training was that there was an assumption of a certain level of understanding about POPs that was assumed that might not be correct. So anyway, just another support piece that we might add to this. So
I would wholeheartedly agree. As a matter of fact, I went back and I reviewed the first POP training that we have in the PD portal, just to ensure I had the correct verbiage, and I didn't want to invent something new. So I think that's a fabulous idea. And unless anyone else has any questions on this, then I will go ahead and stop sharing and give you back the rights, Krista. And of course, you know, I would be more than happy to work with anyone to kind of review what this data means, because I think we're all still learning. I know I could use some help from some of the folks listening.
Exactly, and that's where even on this, there's some of us that know it better than others, as far as pure, complete understanding. All right, so that's the training now in a nutshell. Like I said, I obviously didn't go over all of the slides, but all right. Well, then I will let Beth take it, and she's going to go over some training information. And remember, you can always contact us, and we will give everybody, give us your feedback as you train on this, and let us know what's going on. All right, so Train PD, Beth, you've got it.
Okay, so at this point, I want to talk a little bit about, some of you have done lots and lots of training for Train PD. Some of you are new to training for Train PD. So I want to kind of go over some things with you. Some of it's what are the forms you have to do. Some of it is what we have coming up as far as this assessment training, and then also information about how you can get to these materials. So we have trainings coming up on the 23rd of August, the 27th, and the 29th. Bill Medina, who's on the webinar with us today, has agreed to pick up the 27th and 29th, and those will be one in Houston. And where's the other one, Bill? Now I can't remember. Oh, in San Antonio. So we have one coming up next Friday in Corpus Christi, where the trainer that we had set aside for that one had to back out. So I know that's kind of short notice, but is there anybody who's interested in going down and training in Corpus? And you can think about it while I keep talking. So we're still trying to get, it's been kind of difficult finding training locations right now, just because the year's ramping up and everybody's doing orientation and getting our instructors going. So we're still looking for 3 additional locations. We'd like to do one in Abilene or somewhere there for some of our West programs. A second one in the Houston area. We're looking at maybe Pasadena or Pearland, so we can get some of those programs that are along the coast there. And then I think we are set for one in Dallas on September 6th, but I'm waiting for confirmation from our admin assistant who's off this afternoon. So if you're in the Dallas area, pencil in September 6th. I think she's got us at Mountain View. So think about that. Again, if you're interested in co-training, we can make that happen, because I do understand that, I know I personally am not feeling overly confident, and I'm not in a program, so I don't know all the things that are going on and some of the challenges that people are facing. We've got a couple comments, so let's see. Yes, Denise Arand is helping us out, looking if we can find a location there in that area of Houston. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some slides. I just did some screenshots for you. So a lot of these are forms that you have to fill out when you go to work for Train PD. And let me talk about that for just a second, because it's important for you guys to understand that we understand how valuable your time is. I think we pay fairly for having trainers go out and do training for us, but you can't double dip. So you can't be getting paid from your local program and getting paid from Train PD at the same time. So some of that may be a conversation with the admin folks at your home base, what their rules are about getting paid to train. So just know that you can't double dip. It's got to be one or the other. So as trainings come up, we will reach out to you and say, hi, we've got a training coming up on this date in this location. Are you interested and available? And if you are, one of the first things that you're going to do is complete a generic spreadsheet that looks like the one that you see on the screen that's just going to give us a cost estimate of how much it's going to cost for you to come do that training. It'll include things like how far is it from your home location, how many hours the training is, and meals, hotel, all of that. And then what you'll do is you'll invoice us for a flat fee based on that estimated cost. So you won't have to give us an invoice that's got this listed. You'll just say, we agree to $1,000 for this training, and that's what you'll invoice us for. So that's what that form looks like. So there are a couple of forms you have to do once a year, just once. So some of you that are on the call have already done it. One would be a W-9, which looks familiar, again, just once a year. And then a questionnaire that's called an Independent Contractor Status Certification. And that's got questions like, have you ever worked for A&M? Do you have any family that works for A&M? That kind of stuff. Again, that's just done once a year. And we will send you, after we have agreed that you're going to do it and agreed on a price, we will send you these forms. Now, this is the copy form to request photocopies from our library, and we are happy to make copies for you. As Krista said, we're putting together a packet that's got all the handouts in it. So this is what the photocopy order form looks like. I will be happy to do the copy order for the Corpus Christi training that's coming up next week. An important thing to know about this copy order form is that the library staff need a minimum of 6 business days to complete a copy order and get it mailed to you. You can have it mailed to you, or we can have it mailed to the training site. I know I personally like to have my stuff in hand, so I know where it is, and I know that I have everything that I need. Another thing I want to mention about copies for this particular training is that in the description in the portal, we have asked them to bring their own copy of the assessment guide. We also, either that or to have a device where they can pull up their copy of the assessment guide, because I think it's a whole lot more meaningful to the participants if they can actually see where what we're talking about is written down in guidance. What my plan is to go ahead and have a few copies available so that when you go out and train, depending on how many participants, I'll send you 5, 6, maybe even 10, just for people who might have forgotten it. But we're not going to be making copies of the assessment guide for every single participant. We're going to put that back on the participant. Okay, so how am I going to get these materials? So once we have the packet complete, what we'll do is we'll actually create a curriculum in the PD portal. So if you do not have a PD portal account, you better get one, because it's going to be really important that you be able to go in and access the materials. So I've just put here a screenshot of my transcript, and you'll see in my on my active transcript, the very first thing there is trainers, and then the name of a training. So anytime we do a training of trainers, we'll put all the materials in the portal in that same way. So trainers, Peak Performance 1 assessment is what it will say. So as soon as we get it up as a curriculum, we will assign it to your transcript. You don't have to do anything. It will just appear on your transcript. And then you can open the curriculum and you'll have the PowerPoint, you'll have all the handouts, you'll have the answer key, all of that in one place. Now, if you're doing training in the next couple of weeks, I can just send you the materials if we don't have it up yet. I think they're going to try and get it up by Monday as long as we can get all the materials, completed. And let's see, Bill will make a copy request, okay, once he gets it from us. So what's the max number of copies we should request? So the way we've set these trainings up, we're looking for really big participation. So we put a max of 75 in each of the trainings. Now, one of the things we'll have to do is just kind of keep an eye on registrations, because if we don't get that many, we're trying to save some trees here. So I can work with each of you individually on that. But I don't want to make 75 copies and then only have 40 participants, for instance. But the library staff are pretty good about watching the registrations too. So after you've done a training, right, you want to get paid. So in order to get paid, and this you'll have to do after any training that you do, there are two forms there are two invoices that you have to complete. One of them is a Texas A&M system invoice that you don't have to do anything but sign and date. We'll take care of all the rest of it. So I've got a kind of a red circle there. There's a signature and a date. Don't worry about anything else. We'll take care of the rest of that form. What you do have to complete is a personal invoice. So this is just a sample invoice. You can, we just need the description and that set amount. Again, you don't have to list out everything that we're paying you for. It's just you did this training on this date, and this is the amount that you're invoicing us for. And one question is, so where do I find all of those forms that you just showed me? Well, I can send them to you, but also they're all posted in a trainer community of practice, again, in the portal. So you need to get familiar with the portal. I have assigned each of you into this trainer community. I did it this morning, so it probably won't show up until tomorrow because it has to poll overnight. But you are all now part of the trainer community. And in that community where you go to topics, you'll see one that has trainer master forms. And so a couple of things, other pieces of information that you need to know. In the portal for the individual training day, you'll see a training contact when you click on it, and that training contact is your on-site person for the training location. So it's a good thing to make a note of who that person is. So if you get there and the doors are locked or it's flooding or whatever disaster is happening at the time, that you have somebody to contact, of course you can always contact me. I'd get there early. Please get there early. Make sure you have everything set up. Know where your materials are going to be. So prior to going out and doing training, you will get an email from Yoli Oliver, who is our training coordinator here at Train PD, and she will send you sign-in sheets. The sign-in sheets will also be available in the resources section of the portal. But as a trainer, it's your responsibility to print those sign-in sheets and to gather up those sign-in sheets. And oftentimes the local PD coordinator will have them printed for you, but just know that part of you getting paid is that you get us back those sign-in sheets. So after the event, scan and email those sign-in sheets to Yoli, and then you'll have in your materials from the library an envelope that has the evaluations in it. So you'll put completed evaluations and those original sign-in sheets back in that envelope, and it will have a prepaid mailer label to go on the front of it so that it's no cost to you. You just seal it up, put that on the front, and then mail it back to us. And I think that's all the questions or all the slides I had. That was kind of a quick overview of training for Train PD.
And Beth, one thing I do need to add is that with your initial paperwork that we need every year, we now need a resume or a VITA. So when you send us that paperwork, the W-9, and the ICSC questionnaire, please have your resume or VITA attached to it as well. So that's new this year. So if you haven't trained for us yet, just know you'll need that.
Thank you, Krista. Yeah, it's so new, I completely forgot about it. So, okay, so just shoot me an email if you're interested in a trip down to the coast to Corpus next week, or if you'd like to come, because if nobody ponies up, then I'm going to have to go to Corpus. So if you want to come with me, we can hold hands and do it together. Happy to. And then September 6th for Dallas. Put that one down. It may be, we can see if maybe Marcus and Delia can take that one for us. But check your schedules, and I will let you guys know as soon as we have other locations that I can say for sure that we're a go. I would like to get those done before the Fall Institute, which is September 26th and 27th. Are there, oh, Marcus, yay, Marcus is open for the 6th, so I put you down, buddy. I think that one is closer to you and Delia than some of the other locations. So any other questions about the training content itself, about process? You just put it in the chat pod, or you can certainly shoot me an email. We did record this, so if you want to re-listen to it, or somebody who was not able to be with us today will have access to it, you can go back and catch up. All right, well, I will stay on for just a few minutes, and then we'll close out the room. Again, you know how to reach us. Please feel free, and we really do appreciate your willingness to help get this really, really important information out to the field. So thanks for making time, everybody. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you very much.